Good afternoon. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:01. This will take us to item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can please stand with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
So prior to our moment of silence, I just wanted to make a quick statement. As we look at our district in EPISD, though we may be a single member district, and though we may have different areas where we live, we're one big family. And it's been a really tough couple of weeks for this family. And so out of respect, last week we had 4 of our Jefferson Silva High School students who were injured by cars involved on an accident right outside of campus. Our hearts go out to them and their family as they go through this process of healing, not only their body, but emotionally and otherwise. And we also want to, in our moment of silence, remember Emmanuel Lopez of Franklin High School. This was a student that was beloved by all, was a treasure to those that knew him. And as I said, we hurt as a family, we love as a family. And so in this moment of silence, if you can just give your prayers towards him. Thank you. Thank you. This will take us to item number 4, recognitions. Ms. Rodriguez, do you want us down there? Yes, the board can join us down there.
Good evening, Board President Arabali, board members, and Superintendent Saavedra. I am Liza Rodriguez from Communications, and before I recognize some of our amazing students for their successes, I wanted to thank President Arabali for his words and acknowledgement of everything our community has faced recently. Our hearts are with our students and their families. Our recognition this evening is for 2 incredible and deserving students. Benjamin Ingram from Coronado High School and Samuel Rivas from Franklin High School have been named semifinalists in the prestigious 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. The National Merit Scholarship Program offers students the opportunity to compete for nearly 7,000 scholarships worth nearly $26 million, which will be awarded next spring. Samuel and Benjamin exemplify the district's commitment to whole child development with their interest in the marching band, academic decathlon, high Q, the National Honor Society, and several other activities. And it comes to no surprise to those that know them that these talented seniors are part of an elite group. Less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors were named semifinalists this year. It's an incredible achievement, and everyone at the district is incredibly proud of Benjamin and Samuel. Congratulations. Okay? No, you're fine.
All right, everyone right here.
Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. This concludes this month's recognitions.
This takes us to item number 5, public forum. If you can direct your attention to the screens for a quick message. Thank you.
The district is a local government body charged with serving the educational needs of all school children in our district, and board meetings must be focused on meeting this charge. In meeting that charge, the district board meetings are public meetings under the Texas Open Meetings Act to conduct the business of the district. They are not, however, meetings of the public. Therefore, all persons in attendance are expected to display civility and decorum, that is, respect for other persons, without the use of insulting, profane, threatening, or abusive language. Public comment will not be used for personal attacks. In addition, you are directed to the district's complaint procedures and board policy regarding employee, student, parent, or public complaints. The Deputy Superintendent of Administration is in attendance if you wish to discuss a matter with him. Please note that during public forum, specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries. However, the board may not deliberate or decide any subject that is not posted on its agenda. El distrito es el organismo de gobierno local encargado de atender las necesidades educativas de todos los niños en edad escolar en nuestro distrito, y las reuniones de la Junta deben centrarse en el cumplimiento de este cargo. En el cumplimiento de ese cargo, las reuniones de la Junta del Distrito son reuniones públicas bajo la Ley de Reuniones Abiertas de Texas para llevar a cabo los negocios del distrito. Sin embargo, no son reuniones del público. Por lo tanto, se espera que todas las personas que asistan muestren civismo y decoro, es decir, respeto por otras personas, sin el uso del lenguaje insultante, profano, amenazante o abusivo. Los comentarios públicos no se utilizarán para ataques personales. Además, usted está dirigido a los procedimientos de queja del distrito en la política de la Junta con respeto a los empleados, estudiantes, padres o quejas públicas. Tenga en cuenta que durante el foro público la información fáctica, específica o citación de la política existente puede ser proporcionada en respuesta a las preguntas. Sin embargo, la Junta no puede deliberar o decidir sobre cualquier tema que no está publicado en su orden del día.
Trustee Hernandez, if you want to read out the names.
Open forum speakers, Antonio M. Morales.
Good evening, Board President Irubali, board members, and Ms. Saavedra. My name is Dr. Antonio A. Morales. This evening, I'd like to speak to you about the school performance review recommendation that I am proposing. With the budget challenges in the El Paso Independent School District, I am proposing and strongly recommending the EPISD School Board consider and initiate a school performance review through the Texas Legislative Budget Board as soon as possible. Texas Government Code 322.016 describes the process involved. I had previously discussed this as one of the topics in my meeting last year with Superintendent Saavedra and several members of her cabinet. I consider EPISD top-heavy as central office administrative positions continue to be created and filled despite sinking enrollment. I believe there are potential savings beyond school closures and consolidations, and this review may uncover these savings. I would encourage you to open the links, read and review the process. As a final note, the school district must pay 25% of the costs associated with this review. Currently, I'm in my 4th year of serving the wonderful, beautiful school community at Guillen. 9 years ago, I made the decision to leave school administration and district administration and return to the classroom. This will be my 9th year. I serve as a special education teacher at Guillen Middle School and have initiated robotics programs for the wonderful children there. In the event you're wondering about my background, I'm certified as superintendent, principal, diagnostician, special education teacher, and have an accounting background. I am an advocate for students in serving their community. I believe we need to focus on students and families beyond multiple meetings that we have been conducting throughout this district. A second set of eyes, independent of the school district staff, may reap many dividends for the school, EPISD school community, in my opinion. As such, I stand by my recommendation for EPISD School Board to initiate a school performance review as soon as possible. In 1999, one was conducted by then Texas Comptroller John Sharp, and they identified over $13 million over a 4-year period. As such, it is my recommendation that please look at the links, the email that I did send you this afternoon. School performance review. As an accountant, I can tell you we are in need of outsiders coming in to review the several areas, including district organization, educational service delivery, financial management, human resources, food service, facilities, safety and security management, and technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lorden S. Specie, and I apologize for mispronouncing the last name. You can tell us.
Hello, my name is Lorden Sapisi. I am a junior at Silva Health Magnet, and I would first like to thank all of you guys for coming today. I know you're supposed to be here, but good evening to all of the members of the board, superintendent, administrators, and the community members. I am here to advocate for equal rights in student scheduling at Silva Health Magnet, which draws from some of the brightest and most dedicated students in El Paso. Silva's programs prepare students for the healthcare careers, but not all students are given equal opportunities, especially when it comes to course scheduling. Silva Health Magnet's programs are designed to offer a rigorous curriculum that prepares students for the challenges and higher education and future careers in healthcare. However, the BSN students are prioritized for dual enrollment courses, and students following other medical pathways are often left behind due to the limited space. This lack of access hinders the progress of non-BSN students and undermines the very principles of equity and inclusivity that our educational system is built upon. I understand that a Texas Tech partnership brings additional funding and because of student enrollment to Silva, but it is unfair that this partnership determines the future opportunities for students that aren't pursuing nursing. I ask you to consider the importance of diversity in these programs. Diversity is essential in healthcare, and by limiting course access to non-BSN students, you are depriving these students of critical opportunities. By ensuring that all students have equal access to these courses they need, you are not only supporting their personal growth, but also fostering a more inclusive and dynamic future for the healthcare industry. My personal goal is to study neuroscience, and while all of the BSN students will be starting college with an associate's degree, along with many other students at Silva, will not. When I was creating my schedule, I was told by a staff member at Silva that I would be put into dual credit classes. However, if a BSN student needed my spot, I would be dropped, and I was on several occasions. This year, I was finally put into a dual credit class, a semester-long dual credit class a month into the school year, only because a spot opened when a BSN student dropped. This is not educational equity. I urge you to address these scheduling disparities. If not for me, then the future students at Silva who are not choosing to go into nursing. By expanding course offerings and prioritizing the needs of all students, you can uphold the values of equity and inclusivity that are central to our educational mission and ensure that every student at Silva Health Magnet's programs have opportunities to reach their full potential. Silva Health Magnet has been ranked the best high school in El Paso. Do what's right to continue that while also doing what's in best interest for all students at Silva. Thank you.
Thank you. Norma de la Rosa.
Good afternoon, Mr. Irobali, members of the board, Ms. Saavedra. I am Norma de la Rosa, El Paso Teachers Association President. Ms. Saavedra, when you arrived in EPISD, you stated one of your missions was to change the culture of EPISD, both at the district level and on campuses. Recognizing that the culture of our district was in disarray due to trust issues, scandals, poor leadership, and the effect it had on our employees and our students. In your interview with El Paso Matters, where you reflected on your first year as superintendent, you said, "I knew that for me an even greater priority was being able to come in and cultivate a sense of trust and restore the faith of the community. Unfortunately, somewhere along the way, that has fallen through the cracks here in EPISD. I myself, reflecting on issues that were dealt with last year and now the beginning of this school year, I have seen and witnessed a deterioration of that trust by employees and community members. There is a lingering, stagnant sense of a culture for which there is no better word for it than toxic. And unfortunately, your administration has hired administrators who have brought that toxic culture with them. Why do I say toxic? What other word is there to use when teachers are fearful to speak up, are fearful to disagree on an idea or a thought that is counter to administrators' thinking? When an employee does speak up and then calls me to tell me how that they are now being targeted by either their campus principal or higher administration from central office, or when I speak to someone at central office to get a clarification or a simple answer for my member, and that employee gets a visit from 3 central office administrators. When teachers are told by an administrator to tell your parents to quit calling them. Community members trying to get answers at your meetings that are very controlled and no answers, of which I have witnessed at these meetings. The common message now for employees is to do what they are told, sit down, and be quiet. How is that creating trust and restoring the community's faith in this district? How is that creating trust and restoring the employees' faith in this district? How does this kind of culture represent EPISD as the destination district? How does this lack of open communication with all employees make this a district that would entice anyone to come work here? That now becomes the question that this board must decide how to answer. And the question is, will you take action to move forward and change the culture and climate of EPISD, or are you satisfied with the status quo? The future of EPISD now lies in your hands, and the decisions you make or don't make, the choice is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross Moore. Ross Moore.
Board President Arabali, board members, Ms. Saavedra, my name is Ross Moore, President El Paso AFT. Board President Arabali, Ms. Saavedra, on behalf of the Executive Board of the El Paso AFT and myself, I would like you to invite you to come break bread with us and have a discussion on October 22nd at our monthly Executive Council meeting. Thank you very much. Now I've got a 55-pound fur-coated razor blade that likes to process and chew on household goods, and I got to see what he's done today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia F. Burns.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sophia Burns, and I'm a junior attending El Paso High School. So there have been reports circulating about a decision requiring young women to pay for period products at their schools. I heard this from my student council coordinator, and this is beyond unbelievable, beyond ridiculous, and beyond anything imaginable. Saying that girls in elementary, middle, and high schools will have to use their own money to purchase essential period products. Period products are already extremely expensive. The average cost of pads, tampons, and any other needs is about $8 to $20. Many individuals can't afford menstrual products, which impacts their health, dignity, education, and work attendance. Period products are a necessity, not a luxury, and should be treated like any other essential health product. Let's be clear. Menstruation is not a choice. It's a natural biological function, just like the need for food, water, and shelter. Forcing young students to buy menstrual products, especially at a young age, where they are just beginning to navigate these changes, is not only unfair, it is unjust. Many students already face financial barriers that affect their education, from school supplies to transportation costs. But this decision adds yet another layer of inequality. For some, it may seem like a small expense, but for many young girls from low-income families, this cost can add up quickly, leading to difficult choices. Do they buy period products, or do they spend that money on their lunch? Do they miss class because they can't afford these products, or do they risk the embarrassment and discomfort? Even if they do have the money,
What if they bring the incorrect amount of change or money? To all the women in this board, you have all experienced an unexpected period when in a public space. If these young girls don't have the money, you'd rather have them bleed onto their chairs? This is not just a matter of dollars and cents. It is a matter of dignity, of health, and of equal access to education. How can we expect girls to fully participate in school when they are burdened by something as basic as affording period products? What message are we sending when we ask our young women to pay for their bodily needs, something that they have no control over? We would never expect students to bring their own toilet paper or soap to school, yet we are placing this responsibility on them for menstrual products. It is not right. Period products should be as readily available as any other hygiene items in school. They should be free, just like toilet paper or hand sanitizer, because access to these products is a fundamental right, not a privilege. My sister goes to the Young Women's Academy, an all-female high school, and you're saying that my 11-year-old sister is going to have to use her own money to pay for menstruation products. Many women start their periods young, and I was one of those. It's time we demand more for our students. We need policies that support the well-being of all students, regardless of gender or income. By providing free period products in schools, we give young women the freedom to focus on what really matters, their education, their growth, and their futures. It's time we demand more for our students. We need policies that support the well-being of all students. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public comment. This will take us to item 6A, report on attendance initiatives and updates. Ms. Saavedra?
Yes, thank you, President Itabali and trustees. This evening, we are presenting an update on some of the work that we've done to improve attendance in El Paso ISD. Recently, we had discussions at the audit committee meeting where we shared a lot of information about opportunities for us to grow and get better and tighten our protocols as it relates to attendance. You've heard me say as a superintendent that attendance is the #1 predictor of student success. So we have our team here this evening to share with you some of the as I said, protocols and work that we're doing to improve our attendance so that we can impact our student outcomes in a positive way.
Good evening, President Urabali, Ms. Saavedra, and members of the board. I'm Lisa Estrada Batson. I'm Assistant Superintendent for Student and Parent Services. And today we're going to present to you some enrollment and attendance updates. We're going to begin with, I have my team here with me to help me get through the PowerPoint. But we want to start with our enrollment, projected enrollment, current versus projected enrollment. When we started the school year, we had a projected enrollment of 48,149. And what we've presented today for you is a breakdown from the first day of school and what our enrollment looked like. If you can see, on the first day of school, we were at 44,715 minus 3,434 students. So that's from our projected, or as compared to our projected. So taking a look, we decided we were going to go ahead and continue to monitor, make sure we're checking in with registration, checking in with our registrars, our campuses, and then we began monitoring week by week. So as you can see, the first week of school, we hit 47,226, which was just under projection at 923. We continued the push. Our campuses did a really good job locating students, making sure they were coming back to enroll with EPISD. The third week, we were at 48,100, which was slightly under our projected with a minus 49 enrollees. But after that third week, we began to see a positive turn. At the end of the fourth week, we were over projection by 33 enrollees, and then at the end of the fifth week, over by 64. We projected at during the 6 weeks that we would be over 100, and we were over 100 by 107. So that was great news for us. We started to see an uptick in our enrollees. But I can proudly say that today we are currently at 48,285, which puts us over by 136 students. So we continue to see our campuses, again, are doing a great job. Our administrators are doing a great job at the campus locating students and making sure that we remind them that we are the district of choice and we do want them back in our schools. So we wanted to give you that projected enrollment, current versus projected. So as we move forward with our attendance initiatives and plans, we've been doing a lot of work, as you all probably and will see in the rest of the presentation. But to take a look a little bit at what we have initiated and we wanted to share with you this evening. We have begun beginning of year training, middle of year training, and of course we are prepping for end of year training because it'll be here before we know it. We've also initiated monthly meetings, refresher trainings for our clerks and our administrators. It's very important that our administrators are also educated in the process for attendance so that they can also be well informed and support the clerks and support parents as those questions are being asked at the campus level. We do have immediate training. We were able to partner with our amazing HR department and to work with them for onboarding new clerks. So when we have new clerks that are recommended and ready for hire on the first day, they do not go to the campus. They actually report to SPS and we train them. We train them with the tools that they're going to need to be successful at the campus prior to going to the campus. Before, they were going to the campus and trying to manage the day, manage, who do I report to, what do I do, getting to know people at the campus. It was very stressful. It was also very difficult to train them on site with all the distractions. So what we did was we took all of that away, made them the focus, and then we went ahead and provided that training, or are providing that training at Student and Parent Services. So our lead attendance clerk comes in, and our new hires actually have access to the attendance system, frontline, and they're able to do hands-on training prior to getting to the campus or starting their assignment, right? So it's really, really been beneficial. We have, had the opportunity to establish relationships with these new hires, our new clerks, making sure that they have a point of contact, so when they do have questions, they can contact us, and then we walk them through the process of making sure that what they're doing at the campus as it pertains to attendance or registration in some cases, that they do feel supported. So we're really excited about that. We have also met with our Alpha team. As you all know, we are the only district in the region who has a dedicated group of Alphas that actually go out and support our students who have compulsory attendance or who are struggling with truancy. We make sure that they are a part of the process with learning and attendance because they do work with the notice of attendance and also the 45-day plans that are issued to students. So we have them involved. We've been meeting with them pretty frequently, just kind of touching base and seeing where they're at with attendance procedures, with honoring our compulsory attendance rules and regulations from the state, and just working with them every day. So that has been something that our team has focused on in terms of our Alphas. One of the other things that we have is going to provide access to our parents. We did provide all of our elementary campuses with QR codes, stickers actually, that were provided to the campus administrators to take back and issue to students. And so this QR code, they're also at our secondary campuses as well, but we have armed our elementary students and campuses with these QR codes so that parents can use them to scan and upload notes to help justify the attendance, which really helps us with making sure there is documentation to support the absence. It's just another way of making it accessible for parents to communicate with the school and submit notes, because as we know, sometimes you'll give a student a note, it stays in the backpack and it'll stay there forever. Parents this way have immediate communication with the school and can submit those notes. We also are planning some marketing tools. We want to make sure that we have magnets available for parents because it's nice to have those available on the fridge or in the office, making sure that, if a child does have to be absent, that our parents know that they have many ways to communicate with the school to justify and support that absence, because the school really needs that supporting documentation to be able to code, right? And to make sure that our students are getting the support when they do return. We also have monthly attendance committee meetings. I know that Trustee Hanani had asked about the community meetings or the committee meetings. And so those are now in progress. We do have our campuses working on those. The agendas are there, the sign-in sheets are there, and they're focused on students that are maybe hitting the threshold of compulsory attendance. So we're able to work with our teachers and our students to kind of address any needs that may be required of students. We get involved with, at the campus level, with our social workers and making sure that resources are provided to our families and to our students, because sometimes it's just in a quick meeting and you find out what they need. Also, the utilization of one pager. I have with me here Ms. Jimenez, who worked very closely with creating some of the next information that we're going to present to you. We also have here Ms. Grace Runkles. She's part of our team, and we're really excited. We're kind of giving her a lot of the information, kind of spoon-feeding it a little bit to the team as we learn it and learn each other working together. But this one pager is something that we wanted to present to our campuses, making sure that they had the information in a very succinct method, right? Something that they're able to carry, share with their families, something that was easy to read. So we did create the one-pager attendance reconciliation form that our campuses are using, our teachers are using, and they're able to justify absences, double-check absences, and verify. I know it's a lot of information, but we have put in a lot of systems to make sure excuse me, that our attendance is on target and that we're doing everything that we can to support not only families and students, but also our campuses. So I do apologize. It is a lot of information. We are really excited. We just want to make sure that we're doing everything on our end to support our district. One of the things that, and this is the last item, is one of the key items that we feel is going to be very, very important, but it is the attendance notification system to support ADA, truancy rate, and chronic absences. So we're looking forward to implementing this particular initiative to help, again, support communication with our parents, with our schools, and then also making sure that we can, initiate any resources that our families need. And this is what an example of the campus email QR code looks like. So if parents scan that, they get access to an email address, and all they have to do is upload their documentation for the absence, their child's absence. I'm going to hand these next two slides over to Ms. Jimenez. She worked very hard on the compulsory attendance, the thresholds that we are going to show you next, and I think it's only fair to include her in the presentation today.
Good afternoon, President Irobali, board members, and Ms. Ayavedra. So what you're looking at, that is part of the one-pager that we provided our principals. As you know, compulsory attendance indicates that students must be in school at least 90% of the time. And so whenever you have a student that is absent at least 3 times, unexcused, then in a 4-week period, then we have to create a 45-day plan for the student along with the family. And so with our District of Innovation, we are very fortunate. In 2021, there was an update to the original one from 2016, and in that update, it specified more in detail the requirements of attendance. And so if you notice, it says, as a District of Innovation, El Paso ISD does have a benefit of exemption on this requirement by not penalizing students who miss class due to extracurricular activities, academic activities, or extenuating circumstances. So there's absences that truly don't count as absences for our students. For example, if a student comes back to school the same day after a doctor's appointment, then they are considered present as long as they bring the documentation. Anything that's extracurricular for the campus as well, whether it be academic, sports, fine arts, all of those never count against the student. All other absences, they do count, but at the same time, we created some thresholds to help our administrators when talking to parents. So as you know, a truancy is an unexcused absence, but a chronic absence is both excused and unexcused absences, okay? And to the state, basically, an absence is an absence. That's all it is to the state. So it is our responsibility to be able to justify when our students are absent. So that's part of the reason for the note that we're asking our families. Here you have the thresholds that our administrators are using whenever they have a meeting with a parent. This is what they're utilizing to let parents know. For example, in the first one, from 8/5/24 to 10/1/24, if a student misses more than 4 days, at that point, it becomes a chronic absence because it goes below the 10%, below the 90% threshold. The middle school and the high school, those are separated by semester. It is 8 days the first semester, and it is 10 days the second semester. Yes, we do not, as a district of innovation, our students do not lose credit like some of the other districts, but regardless of that, they still need to be in school per compulsory law.
Thank you. So here we have the overall attendance, the cumulative attendance that we want to share with you, and we have a comparison from last year to this year, and we did it by week as well. We wanted to start slow and walk you through the process, and also it helped us determine whether or not the processes that we have in place are actually working. So what we did was we took it week by week. So you'll see here that week 1 in 2023-24, week 1 was at 97.47. This year, it's 97.75 for the first week. During the second week, we were able to account through historical data that the second week of school in 23-24 was at 95.71%. This year, 96.26%. Week 3, you can see the comparison there, 94.65 versus 95.23. Week 4, you can see the same. We are showing very comparable gains. Our gains actually vary anywhere from 0.25% to 0.27. They fluctuate just slightly, but we do have growth, and these are things that we're really excited about. As we move forward with week 5, 93.5% last year. This year, we're at 94.8. Week 6, 93.98. to 94.51. So we are showing that the systems that we're putting into place are actually working. And that's just with our campuses getting used to the systems, right? They themselves are getting into a routine, they're getting into a rhythm of what they do at the campus and how the teachers are not only accounting for attendance, but how they're verifying it. And that is huge, because once they get into sync, I think we're gonna see probably higher gains is what we're hoping for. Last year, we ended, using On Data Suite, we ended at 90.7%. I believe it was 90.7% for the school year. This year, we know our goal is 94%. We are working really hard, and I do want to make sure that, of course, our campuses, our administrators, and definitely our clerks, that they also know that they're doing a great job. And so they are helping, working, and they're asking for help when they get stuck. And that's one of the biggest, I guess, accomplishments we can say that we're very proud of, because those relationships are being built. And that trust is there, and that support is there. And we really want them to feel supported, because that's what we're all in it together. So here we have, of course, the overall. We have not done week 7 and week 8 because we got a 6-week comparison to start, because that was our first milestone. So that's what we wanted to present to you today. However, in the future, we have already spoken with Ms. Saavedra, and we will be presenting attendance updates as we move forward. And finally, we want to share a little bit about district-wide updates, where we currently are and things that we have planned for the future. We do have an attendance campaign that targets monthly activities, and I know we shared that with Cabinet, and there's some great ones. We have sent out the month of October, November, and December to our campus principals. For example, just to share a little bit, the October one is Fall into School. Just to get, with the change of the season, these are themes, they're thematic. And so November is Every Day I'm Thankful, and I know one of our personal favorites for December is Your Presence is a Gift. So these are items, thematic units that we have for campaigning, and ideas that we pushed out to the campuses so they can take a look and see how they can implement them. Of course, they can modify them, but having a theme is a start. So we're doing that every month and getting the campuses involved and getting our students engaged with, being present. So this is going to be fun, we think, for our campuses, especially our elementary. There's some great activities. We also wanted to briefly touch on our no-show and our leaver calls. Those have been happening since the second day of school, and they've been ongoing through, of course, the 10th. And not so much, we put the dates here, but really they're happening all the time, every day. We do have our alphas working. We have our campus front office staff working, and our administrators. We also did home visits. Those were ongoing from the 11th through the 20th. We kind of wanted to structure it for you so you could see the progression of impact that the campuses are having with locating students and helping to make sure that we're either coding them correctly or bringing them back. And then finally, we talk about lever walks, we wanted to share that we do have upcoming district lever walks, but one of the differences is that usually we have a district walk for the year. Things have to change just a little bit. So you'll see here that we are planning to have a district walk for the fall and also for the spring. And that's because TEA is making a change in the reporting dates. So usually, to give you a little bit of background, usually we submit our PEIMS information at the end of the year, but we still have, when we come back to school, we have fall. So we can wrap up the past school year and find students and make sure that everything's okay. Well, TEA is now shifting that to submission in the summer. So they're moving that date up. We'll no longer have the fall. So we need to get into a practice right now of making sure that not only at these two district walks are we locating kids, but we're doing it every week, every day. So that's the reason for working to implement 2 walks. If at the very least, making sure that we are finding our students before they even leave. So when they withdraw, that we know exactly where they're going. And that's just part of preparation for what the state is working on, or what they've already basically told us is going to happen. But the reason they're doing that is because they're aligning with federal guidelines. So we need to make sure that we're also up to date and prepared. We have updated our attendance codes. So we had several codes in EPISD, and taking a look at them, we had some crossover. So what we did was we took the codes and minimized them, making it easier for our clerks to code, making it easier for our administrators to view and approve certain absences. So that's been taken care of. That seems to be, we've also trained on that. So that's something that our campuses are feeling very comfortable with. Student and Parent Services webpage has been updated. We're constantly working on that as we get updates either through policy or just having updates through attendance. But we've managed to update that. We're about 95% done with that. And finally, this one is also something we're very excited about. We have initiated a biometric system at EPCC and UTEP so that our students who take dual credit can actually attend on campus at the university, at the community college, and they can have attendance taken through biometric devices. So that means that even our students who are off campus at the time, we can account for them and make sure that they're part of the FSP accountability for our district. And so I know it was a lot of information, and we just wanted to make sure that as an update, you got everything that's been in play, but if you all have any questions, we are free to answer.
Trustee Beals?
That was a lot of information, but a lot of great information. I just want to say thank you so much for all the hard work that is being put into our attendance and our kids attending school. I can feel the energy. I can feel the positivity. I can tell that you guys are putting so much work and creativity into, making it a positive thing to get our kids into school, and it is. We're so very blessed for our kids to be able to attend school and get an education, and I really appreciate you guys making it a little bit easier for us parents to document our kids' absence. I know that I have had personal experience myself, and I can attest that, change is not fun. Change is not fun, but I appreciate making it just a little bit easier for us to be able to be on the same team to account for our children being at school and just having the same goal. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Trustee Anani?
I have one quick question, but first I also want to echo a lot of Trustee Beal's thoughts just regarding the hard work that your team is doing. You can certainly see that kids are taking it a little bit more seriously, and parents are too, even just reporting student absences. So that's incredible, and we certainly appreciate all of your efforts. I have a quick question just about extracurricular activities and the reporting. Do you all require that, or is the policy that coaches or student activity directors will submit names prior to the anticipated absence or after? I get a lot of feedback that parents are getting a call regarding their student being absent and kind of wondering like, wait, where were you, where are you? And so I also feel like it's kind of a time suck for attendance clerks to have to make that call when perhaps the attendance could have been marked ahead of time.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So we do have, and I also have Jimenez here with me, because that is something that we tackled earlier in the year. Actually at the end of last year and starting this year. So we actually have our coaches or sponsors that need to submit the names prior to the day of the absence. What we've also done is, in order to avoid all the phone calls that our parents are getting, especially for our secondary, after every class period there would be some sort of notification. What we've done is we've moved the notification to the end of the day. So the parent only gets one call now if their student is out. So I'm going to let Jimenez talk a little bit more about the activities as it pertains to UIL and extracurricular.
So we do ask our coaches and our sponsors to turn in at least 2 days in advance if possible. That way the clerks have it, and then once the outing is about to take place, then they need to notify the clerks if there's a student that's not going to participate. That way they know how to code the students accordingly.
Perfect, thank you.
Trustee Hernandez?
I just think this is a wonderful way of showing us that we're working towards helping fund our school district with the right documentation that's needed. Because if you all know that we all depend on this type of program to make us successful and to have the right kind of resources to do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Loveridge?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to echo the praise of all of your efforts. I think it's really great to get creative and to make school something that is fun and exciting and something that you want to attend on a daily basis. And so I just had one quick question regarding Aptigee. How's that going? How's the experience? Have there been any glitches, and what's customer service look like on that front? Thank you.
So Aptigee has been great. Their customer service is phenomenal. They work with us. What's really cool, one of the things really cool about Aptigee is when you get a training or you watch a video, it's actually kids that are showing you how to use the program. And so that's been really good. Any issues that we've had, I know at the very beginning, parents were getting phone calls from I think a phone number from Little Rock, Arkansas, or something like that at first. So it took a little while, but they were able to create one, a local one for everybody. So it's been a transition, but it's been great.
Excellent. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't believe there's any other questions. Thank you very much. I know we went from the audit to this conversation, which really shows how the audit helped inform these decisions, the proactive approach. So good job, team. This will take us to item 6B, report on feminine hygiene products program. Ms. Saavedra.
Yes, thank you, President Irubali and trustees. I also want to thank Sophia Burns, a young lady who was advocating on behalf of her peers and other young ladies. So we have taken some effort and some time to really study where we are as it relates to providing adequate opportunities for young ladies to have access to feminine products during their menstrual cycle. It is a real issue that we need to tackle in our schools. And so we've gone back and kind of checked where are we at this point and what are some of the things that we can do to address this and really meet the needs of our young ladies across the school district. So we have Al Garcia here and Norma Luna, our Director of Health Services, to kind of give an update to the board on what we've discovered and our path forward, so that we can truly, as I said, meet the needs of our young ladies, so they feel valued and they understand and know where to access products when they're in need.
Good evening, President Ravalli, Ms. Ayala, members of the board. Al Garcia, Chief Academic Officer, and to my left is Norma Luna, our Director of Nursing, and I will defer to her knowledge and expertise for this presentation.
Thank you. So our currently the access that students have when they need personal hygiene products is to go to the school nurse to receive those products. At this time, we do not have a written procedure as to when these personal hygiene products are going to be handed to students. Pretty much it's on an as-needed basis. Most students receive sanitary napkins from the nurse due to forgetting to bring their own supply or because their period came unexpectedly. Nurses have reported some students going frequently every month and use the supply from the nurse as their personal supply. Nurses in our high schools order on average about 3 cases a year of sanitary napkins, and in middle schools about 2 cases a year, and there's about 250 napkins in each case. They use part of the budget allocated by their campus to purchase these supplies. We did a very small student survey, about 60 female students in 3 of the high schools. 100% of them would like to access the sanitary napkins in a location other than the school nurse's office. 99% would like for the supplies to be free of cost. Future options that we can look at, we can provide a supply of feminine hygiene products in the girls' restrooms for a minimal cost, let's say 25 cents, through vending machines to ensure students only take what they need, or we can continue to supply them through the nurse's office for students as needed. With everything, we just need to really focus on education no matter what. We should be providing education, and we do already to the students, but I do think we need to involve parents as well regarding menstruation in order to minimize the impact it has on our students. For example, how to minimize symptoms such as menstrual cramps, how to prepare accordingly for menstruation. Thank you. Any questions?
I just would add that Director Luna has also been working with procurement with regards to be able to fund this initiative so that campuses aren't charged from their school nurse supplies. And I just appreciate finance and their willingness to help us to ensure that kids have access to their everyday needs.
Yes, I just wanted to echo that as we began to discuss this issue, I know that I got the CFO involved so that we could begin to equip the warehouse with an adequate supply, and so that we're funneling that to campuses at the elementary, the middle school, and the high school level, so that there's always a stock, and it's not just based on the nurses' forethought of carrying the necessary products in the nurse's office. I think that this might be an opportunity for us to bring together students and nurses alike so that we can develop some comprehensive protocols and truly work together to create a system that provides our young ladies access as needed as early as elementary school. And so this is an ongoing process, but as I said, we certainly appreciate our young advocates bringing this to light, and we're working closely with students to make sure that we meet those needs.
Trustee Anani?
Thank you for the information, and thank you for sort of letting us know that this is a work in progress. It certainly does feel like a work in progress. You know, part of the hesitation I have with this is that the students are clearly telling us that they want access to products that are free and in locations other than the nurse's office. So I'd actually like to flag this for a plan, a better plan to come back to us maybe in at a time in the near future. Possibly, you know, I sort of see free menstruation products as sort of, or charging anyway, is like charging boys for toilet paper in a boys' bathroom is kind of how you could think of it. You know, we wouldn't charge boys for toilet paper. So really just providing an equitable lens. I know there are free dispensers that you can put in the bathroom that will dispense products for free. I'd like to also look at, if we're working with students, not just sanitary napkins, but tampons as well. I know we do have a lot of student athletes that possibly need different types of products in certain situations. Certainly at the elementary school, we're seeing that students are getting their periods earlier and earlier. So yeah, certainly for me, this is an issue of really making sure that there is access. Having them in the nurses location only is really a hindrance for a lot of girls who, first of all, this is sort of seen as a health problem rather than a natural part of, you know, everyday life. And I think the bathroom is probably the most appropriate place to have them. I know there's some hesitancy around putting things in the bathroom because the first thing people always say is, well, the kids are just gonna put the pads on the walls. But the reality is we provide toilet paper. We're gonna need to continue to provide toilet paper, whether they're gonna pull the toilet paper off the roll and swirl it around places. I think we need to sort of see menstruation products as really being a necessity in our bathroom spaces. So if we could have maybe a time in the near future where we have a better plan coming back to us that really meets the needs of what our students are, I think that would be maybe the way to go forward.
And again, I want to clarify. Yes, Thank you, Ms. Anani. And again, our charge today was really to share with the board, you know, where we are, to assess where we are. And obviously, we're not in a place where we're meeting all of the need. There's plenty of work to do. And as I shared, we want to continue to work with students, develop a more comprehensive plan. And we're ready, certainly, to do that. So we appreciate the feedback.
Dr. Loveridge?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I think it's a very good start, and we really appreciate the work of students on advocating for this change. Just to echo what Trustee Hanani has said, it is an equity issue of the highest priority, I think, and it's, you know, I just want to make clear, when those options do come back, we will have a third option. It's not just charging students 25 cents versus a nurse's office. There will be a third option broken down with a cost analysis of it.
Yes, I would say that, again, this is an assessment of where we are and some initial, you know, ideas that have been brainstormed based on a very limited survey. I think that there's more significant work to do, you know, which is why the CFO is also involved. I do think that differentiating the products is also a critical component. And not just offering, you know, one type of product. So that there is significant work that we still need to do to build a comprehensive plan to provide consistent access. And again, at the elementary level, the middle school, and the high school, which does not only include access at the nurse's office. So.
Trustee Beals and then Trustee Correa.
Sorry. I agree with Trustee Leverage and Trustee Hanani. I, too, would like a little bit of time, you know, a little bit more time put into this issue. I don't disagree with anything that they said. Being a parent of daughters, I also would like a little bit more thought put into it. I know that a lot of our girls, or kids, don't carry 25 cents around with them. Like I don't even carry change with what's cash. You know, nobody has that anymore. So, you know, it's a priority. We need to take care of our kids, and I also think that a little bit more education on this issue is important, and I am very, very glad that this issue was brought up to the board. So thank you so much.
Trustee Correa?
Yes, great. I was just going to say thank you again, right, for the presentation and like everybody else is echoing, right, our female students are telling us something, so I think it's important that we listen, like Ms. Saavedra was saying. I know somebody at the office during lunchtime, not during work time for me, had come up and said that her daughter, I think, is part of a Girl Scout troop, right, that was helping to raise funds. I think some of them are here today. I just wanted to acknowledge them and say thank you. I think they raise funds, they make donations. Everything costs money, right? Inflation is hitting everybody hard in different places. So to have our, female students that account for 50% of our demographics, right? It definitely is an equity issue. So for us to say that, one of the options would be the 25 cents, I'm going to go a step above and say that I'm diametrically opposed to that, right? I don't think it should be an issue to where they're having to pay any money for any of these services, because it's a facet of life, right? It's something that, that men will never have to deal with, right? That women will have to deal with, throughout their lives. And it's just something to where, even if I wasn't raising a daughter and married for 17 years, I would still have the same outlook. So, whatever further options you all can present to us, hopefully free options for the students, right? I think that's what we're all voicing right now at this point, is that we need to find the funding to come up with that option. So thank you so much.
Trustee Irabali, I have one more thing. One more thing that I've mentioned in the past and that I'd like us to explore is how student athletes in particular feel about white athletic uniform bottoms. I know that there are, I know UIL actually just passed a rule maybe within the last couple of years that now allows us to not have white bottoms. And so I would be interested in how students feel, and maybe that's something that we could look at as a policy. Does it prevent girls from joining sports because they're worried about bleeding through their white uniforms? That is something that's not talked about very much, but I know UIL did address it recently. And then thank you to the girls that are here advocating. Hopefully you can go back to your schools and say, I advocated and it worked. You should do the same thing. That would be great. Thanks. Thank you so much.
This will take us to item 6C, review of the 2020, thank you, team. This will take us, review of the 2025-2026 budget development calendar. Ms. Aguirre, I yield the floor to you.
So we had it here. It's zero. Hold on just a sec, look. You're just showing that one page.
Good evening, Board President Irobali, Ms. Saavedra, Board of Trustees. My name is Marta Aguirre, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer. And this evening, I'm here to present to you the proposed budget development calendar for the 25-26 budget and school year. So what you have in front of, for the slide in front of you is basically an overview of the process. And as you'll note, it starts by looking at evaluating our staffing levels at each campus. And so you can see that the first 6-week period starts our process by initiating our projections for the following school year based on our 6 weeks enrollment. That takes place in September. Our PEAM snapshot, which is the last Friday of October, is also critical, as that is how the state then determines how they will be funding and what type of enrollment we'll have for the following school year. We do start initiating, and we start training on campus staffing as well as staffing reviews that take place in January. When we jump into the budget development process, we start by presenting the proposed calendar as we're doing this evening. And then we also, another critical piece of that is the academic calendar. And so that will be presented to you either in November or December in a couple of months. The approval of that calendar triggers our HR process as we look at our personnel calendars. We start training campuses and departments in December, and then we do budget hearings and staffing reviews in the months of January and February. Another important aspect of our budget development for next year is our legislative session. So we will be starting our 89th legislative session in January. And typically, the sessions go through the end of May with an extension in June. And so as we look at whether or not the state will be funding or providing additional revenue, through these months, we'll be monitoring closely and seeing how we end up with that process. Our tax rate and property values are presented to the board in March of 2025. And the revenue projections basically start early or late in the first semester, and they just go. Again, there's a lot of moving pieces in between these months as we reach out and present to our budget review committee, our principals advisory council, as well as our teacher advisory council, and just have those conversations with the board through the board workshops through the spring. And the next page is basically the calendar. I know it's really small. That's why I thought I'd give you the summary in the pages before. And that's all I have for this.
Questions? The only thing I'd like to say, Ms. Aguirre, I'd like a constraint on us as a board. I know many times we'll come in the 11th hour and make an 11th hour suggestion, or we'll do it up here, and it puts you guys in a very difficult situation of crunching numbers on the spot. So if we can maybe look at what a timeline would be for us as a board to offer up suggestions, give advice, things of that nature, to give you time to do the proper analysis, so we're not making dire, financial decisions on a whim. I think that might be helpful.
Yes, and on the calendar, you'll notice on the bottom section of the budget workshops, I have April 8th as a request for any trustee-initiated revisions. So if there is something that you, as board members, want to suggest or recommend, we ask that if we get the April 8th, that gives us about a month and a half to obviously start running the calculations, present to you in May, and then if we need to make any adjustments, come back to you in June.
Okay, so the new ideas, deadline is 4/08.
Yes.
Subsequently, any work that needs to be done between that April meeting to our budget, that will be reworking the original idea, not brand new ideas coming to the table for trustees, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This will take us to item 7A, discuss and take appropriate action on House Bill 3, student outcome goals, progress measures, and monitoring plan. Ms. Saavedra?
Yes, thank you, President Irabali and trustees. As you know, we've had extensive conversations about adopting updated House Bill 3 goals. It's critical and important for us to review those every year and provide the board an update on our progress as it relates to student outcomes. In the last workshop that we had with you all, we shared that there's been a number of different changes to the A through F accountability system, which has caused us to go back and look at the House Bill 3 goals that were adopted prior to those changes being instituted, and update our goals and the outcomes that we want to reach over the next 3 to 5 years. So the team is here to provide you an update on all of the feedback that you provided during that workshop, so that we can present the final recommendation to you all this evening for your consideration.
President Irubali, Ms. Saavedra, members of the board, I'm Maribel Macias, Chief Organizational Transformation and Equity Officer, and today it's like I don't want to hear your squeaky voice. All right, there we go. So we'll provide a TEA HB3 summary. We'll also provide a brief update on the workshop that we have in August. And we will share with you our proposed outcomes based on your feedback that you provided us. And we also have a calendar to share with you when we're going to be providing you updates of the data that we have collected. So with that, as HB3, you all know that it's literacy and our numeracy goals that we have for early childhood. And we also have CCMR readiness goals that we look at. For our CCMR readiness goals, those are items that we're going to be sharing with you. I believe they start on page 29 of your executive summary. We wanted to make sure that we provide you a brief but concise update. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be providing an overview. If you looked at the summary on page 5, what we did is we provided a one-page, pretty much easy way to read every single goal that we're providing as far as some of the data that we reviewed. This year is a benchmark year. As we had shared, STAR kind of redesigned itself this year. So we have, in the spring, we had a lot of benchmark data that we shared. And with that benchmark is how we are creating our new goals that we're going to be sharing with you. So for our TEA plan requirements, as we shared, third grade math and third grade reading, those are going to be goals that we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be looking at professional development for kinder through third grade. That's something that our academics team and a school leadership team provided during our workshop that we had. And whenever we're looking at our annual targets, we actually set targets for our bilingual and our ESL programs. We're always looking at ways to improve all of our subgroups. For historical context, back in January 2020 is when we started creating our HB3 goals. In March, we came and we actually updated our HB3 goals based on the information that we had. And at that time, we shared with you that we were going to bring that back to you in 2024 as we recreated and got baseline from that update from STAR. To be transparent, we always want to make sure that we have forward-facing information. So our HB3 student outcomes goals that you do approve, those are on our website and they're on our Tableau dashboard. So if you go to menu, if you go to our website, you click menu, you will see our HB3 goals that are approved, and that way anybody within our community could actually view that at a glance. So with that, I'm going to be transitioning to Ms. Ferret. She's going to be sharing with you some of that HBAR or the workshop summary and our recommendations for our goals.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Christine Ferret, Executive Director of Strategic Planning and Design. And as you remember, about a month ago, we worked together. We had a workshop, which was our House Bill 3. And in that, we shared the data from the prior year for each of the goals and each of the progress measures, kind of on the left-hand side of the page, and then the right-hand side of the page, we discussed any proposed revisions or considerations that we would be bringing forward for you tonight for adoption for 24 through 27. That is the recommended timeline, because that is the timeline that we have our federal and state targets set. It's kind of in bands, and so to align with that. Some of the feedback that you had provided was for our pre-K math progress measure. If we could just hit it right at the 90, so we did go back and make that revision. You also gave a lot of feedback and adjusting the monitoring plan to include more of our board workshops and board meeting presentations. So we went back in and made those revisions as well. In the board packet that is assigned, you'll see the data directly from our workshop, as well as some additional pieces, including some of that executive summary. And there's our visual. This again was how we set up the proposed feedback. And when we did the proposals for each of our board goals, what we have in the bottom in the pink was the federal targets, just to see which areas we were already hitting federal targets and where we had gaps. And we used that to really bring forward our proposed metrics. So all of our proposals for adoption include at least a 2% gain And if we were below a state or federal target, then it was between 2 or up to 6% gain per year. So our proposals for 24 through 27 in early childhood literacy is moving from our third grade star at the meets level from 44 to 50. 46 is the federal and state benchmark. And then we have our student groups. House Bill 3 requires us to have student groups that are part of the state plan. And so these are the student groups that different schools in our district do have, that they are given data back in our Domain 3. It's the updated Domain 3 targets. For our progress measures, we have a pre-kindergarten, a kinder, and then a first through third. And there was a recommended adjustment in the kindergarten. For circle, we're still using circle, but using phonological awareness instead of letter recognition. And in kinder, to have our kinder represent map to align, and then continue using map. But now we have benchmark data, we have baseline data, and so we want to hit that 50% band, which is the national average. If we're already at 50%, then those areas would expand. For early childhood math, the recommendation is to go from 35% at the meets level to meets or above to 49%. In this case, we have a gap with the federal target, so we are recommending a 5% increase per year. And you can see in the student groups where that is at. Our emergent bilingual, it actually is 6%. In our progress measures, we are continuing with the same progress measure tool for our areas, and just with the pre-kinder to continue to increase in there. And that's the one that we bumped it to go from our 80% on track up to 90% on track. For our kinder and first through third, the NWA MAP growth, and that is now we have baseline data for those. When we look at college and career readiness, the recommendation, administration's recommendation was for the goal to use the accountability measure, and then for the progress measure 1 to use the college readiness measure without college prep. So that baseline data would go from 85% to 91%, and you can see each of the student groups. And all of those areas, most of those areas are already above the federal state target, so it would just be a continued increase. With progress measure 1, the proposal is the TSI criteria without college prep to increase from 53 to 59 in reading and 35 to 41 in math. In progress measure 2, there was big gains. Our previous set of goals was in the 5%, 8% goal, and you can see this year we've already exceeded, so we are looking to continue to increase in those. We do know that it is being measured a little bit differently with new certifications and the requirements for in the program of study. So we're looking just to continue to keep that upward trend in that area. In TSIA, increasing, continue with the increasing of students completing TSIA to make sure we've got still that focus on access. And then in progress measure 4, SAT, there was a proposed adjustment to the SAT being at the percent at college readiness level versus the average. That also aligns with how SAT is measured with CCMR. And then to continue with our 8th grade MAP growth data. For the proposed monitoring plan, you can see a fall and a spring breakdown. So every goal and progress measure has updates whenever new data is available that can show our progress in those areas. So the big ones are August, February with our taper results, and then June with our early results. And then other pieces of data as they've come forward, and you can see we've added more of these into our board meetings or board workshops. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Ms. Wright, just to start it off, I do, when you look at last year's numbers of our HB3 goals to this year, you see a decline in the percentages. Can you explain the different kind of metrics that are being used? And it's not an apples to apples comparison, it's different, just so that we can kind of set that tone for the conversation?
Yes, definitely. So the original metrics were based on STAR 1.0. Particularly for reading, STAR 1.0 was just reading, and it was just multiple choice. STAR 2.0 is a variety of test questions, short answer responses, and particularly in the reading, it's reading and writing. So it's not even the same assessment. It's a reading test and a writing test combined. So it was a reset. And then the prior set of goals that were brought forward for proposal was still before that reset had come into fruition.
In addition to that, I would say that in STAR 2.0, the cut scores were also adjusted. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And for the layman, Ms. Saavedra, what does that mean?
Well, so what the state does is for every test and every grade level, depending on the number of questions that are asked, they create a range of what is meets, or what is approaches, what is meets, what is masters, in terms of the number of questions a student has to get correct to fall into those categories. And so the cut scores for each one of those categories was changed in 2.0, and students had to get more questions correct to meet each one of the different levels.
Thank you. Trustee Call?
Yeah, I hate that the state changed it. And forgive me if this was, I have a question. Forgive me if this was discussed in the workshop. I wasn't able to attend, but any indication whether the state is going to stick with the current version of the test for the next 3 years? Because to me, these goals are absolutely pointless if we're moving the goalposts.
Well, I would share with you that I can't predict that at this point. I mean, we have to assume that the A through F accountability system and the assessment as it is today is going to be in place going forward. However, I do know as legislators are gearing up for the session, there are conversations happening about whether there needs to be a revisit to, with the A through F accountability system and with the assessment system as a whole. Given the fact that there was an initial lawsuit filed and there's a second lawsuit at play, the opening hearing in September last week, another injunction was granted, temporary injunction. So we're still in a stalemate in terms of the state reporting officially school district ratings. And really, the legislature is the only entity that can truly make a change to the system itself. So we're going to assume that things are going to remain as is, but that, as I say that, we're gearing up for a session, and whenever we're gearing up for a session, there's a lot of things that could change.
Follow-up question. So I know that it was mentioned that the literacy, the literacy part had changed and the CCMR part had changed. Did the math part change as well?
Yes,
between STAR 1.0 and 2.0?
They did. Go ahead.
Yes, in the previous assessment, it was all multiple choice. And with the new law, no more than 40% of the assessment can be, or a large portion of the assessment must be something other than multiple choice.
Open response now. And
Okay.
Mr. Call, the reason we feel comfortable in asking you to approve these goals is that we have to review them yearly. So if there is a change, then we would come back, have another, and thank you for having the workshops, and then we would do the baseline again and be able, the good thing is that the state has given us raw data or raw scores, so that's what we're sharing with you in our projections. for the next 4 years.
I do have another question, but I'll let other trustees ask if they want to, or, okay. I'm big on goals. I think goals are critically important to everything that we do, both in our personal lives and in our professional lives, and certainly in the context of the school district. Now, my question is, do we feel like these goals are gonna stretch us enough? And do we feel like they're attainable? Because I hate goals that are unattainable, and I hate goals that don't also stretch us and take us to the next level.
I would, I'll open with that, and then I'll have you all follow up. I would share that, again, when we think about these particular goals, although the board has requested that our goals really be specific to meets and masters and not include approaches, although the law really just requires us to set goals based on approaches. No, it's meets and masters? Okay, so I stand corrected there. But I do believe that we have goals that are going to challenge challenge us to pay close attention to all of our student groups rather than just the aggregate, because I think that if you look not only at the all student line, but you go through and look at each one of the student groups, we are really working towards improving achievement for students in, regardless, our emergent bilingual children, our special education children, all children. So the short answer is yes, I do believe that we're in a position where our goals, we are stretching, and we're elevating the rigor. And if we see that our progress is accelerated and we're meeting our targets over and beyond, what's listed in our goals, then I think that's an opportunity for us to bring those back to you and say, we're going to get here faster than we thought, and so we need to challenge ourselves a little bit more.
I would be thrilled to have that conversation that we're doing better than we thought. And just one final thought. I think this segues very well into discussions about updating our technology policy on campus, because making the gains, this is just from a non-educator's perspective, but I firmly believe that making the kind of gains that we're talking about here is going to necessitate that we look at the role of technology in the classroom, because I feel that too often it's a hindrance. I have this conversation with my kids all the time, especially my freshmen. It's a hindrance.
I do believe that we're finding that we've got to strike a balance of the amount of technology that we rely on, and some of the learning experiences that we all were part of in the classrooms that we were part of when we were much younger. So it is a strike of a balance, especially with our young children, in terms of their reading, and some of the placeholders and the pointing still needs to be part of, and they need to learn how to turn pages and things of that nature, because those are all tactile skills that maybe not are reading skills, but they're skills that develop the child. And as we think about whole child, all of those things you cannot get from a device, right? So absolutely things that we need to consider going forward.
Dr. Loveridge?
Just out of curiosity, do you have a sense of what other districts across Texas are doing when it comes to these progress measures, and particularly in the region, adjacent districts, just framing that in the context of something that's affecting all of us across the state?
All right, third time's the charm. So other districts across the state also look at it on a yearly basis. They do know it's STAR 2.0, so they are bringing in benchmarks, and they're going from there. Usually the natural is, just like we did, the 2 points from the baseline, and/or stretch goals is whenever, we always want to make sure that we're within the state and within, and that's where our stretch goals were 2 to 6%. So going back to your question, most districts throughout the state are dealing with the adjustment on a year-to-year basis. What we did and most other districts are just going to go up to 2027, since that is what legislation has shared, that this new STAR 2.0 is for the next 5 years, and last year was year 1.
So thinking in particular about Isleta, Socorro, or do you know if they're having these kinds of conversations right now?
I could share with you one other district and very similar conversations. Yes.
Trustee Hernandez?
Go ahead.
Trustee Hernandez?
Thank you for the information. I still think this is a lot to unpack for me personally. Before I can say yes to switching the goals, I think I need more context. Because I remember when we initially set these goals, we had a lot more regional data, data sets from some of our counterparts across the state of Texas, that mirrored our demographics. I remember that being a part of the conversation, and so I would like to unpack this a little bit more. My understanding, just based on the SOFG framework, and maybe that can be included into a forthcoming conversation, is that we should be setting our goals as a board from between 3 to 5 years, and then the district can recalibrate interim assessments. I think we should sort of outline that a little bit better for the public as well. And so for me, without that context, it's going to be difficult for me to vote on this today. So I am going to need, I think, more time, maybe a workshop where we can sort of dig in. I just want to make sure that we're not arbitrarily lowering the bar. I understand the context of STAR 2.0. Is that what it's actually called? Or is that STAR 2.0? STAR redesign, right? It's called STAR redesign. Yeah, okay. I was trying to, I'm saying STAR 2.0 as I'm saying it. I mean, the other thing too is that we do have some information coming in from the state regarding our open education resources. I think, possibly we could look at another year of data. I know in conversations, part of what we've talked about is how much of the COVID slide is sort of affecting our benchmark data. We do have students that are coming in now that are sort of have not been COVID children coming in for next year. So I do think that we need more norm reference points and data sets before we can, for me, this is what I would consider lowering the bar on our board goals. And I just think that we need to sort of follow the framework of, what best practices are, or maybe even have a longer conversation about that. So I'm going to actually ask that we possibly have another workshop to discuss this, or a special board meeting even, so that we can post it for action if that, to avoid bringing this back at another board meeting, is going to be my ask today.
Trustee Hernandez?
Ms. Saavedra, then how often do we get to change these then?
Well, I mean, what I would say is that in a normal cycle, you would set your goals. We would review them on an annual basis to make sure that they're still, again, I'm going to use the example that I used with Mr. Call. If we saw that our progress was accelerating beyond and we were getting to our goals much sooner, then we would want to, adjust as a board. And so, once we set these, they're set for 3 to 5 years, but we bring them to you and show our progress year over year, and the board always has the opportunity to adjust. But we want to kind of be on a trajectory so that the public knows that we've set these benchmarks. These are the things that we're working towards with our student outcomes, and we're showing year over year how we're meeting or exceeding those. So, I mean, I would not recommend that we change them every year. I mean, there needs to be a level of consistency and something, we don't want a moving target, right? But when it's appropriate, the board would review the data and provide guidance to the staff on whether they wanted to, raise the bar or keep things where we currently have them. I would, go ahead, Maribel.
Yes, and if you could look at page 5, and I put it up on the screen. We did a quick executive summary as far as for each one of our goals. And truly, if you look at the red area, those are the areas that slightly decreased. And of course, at that point, we went benchmark. But if you notice, most of our areas exceeded the target, therefore we were modifying it to a higher goal. And in some areas, it was a baseline because we created a new metric or a new measuring tool that we used. So if you could look at this, I hear you, Ms. Hinani, but if you look at the summary, it truly shows that many of our metrics were right on point, and there were just a few that decreased. So, for example, in 23-24 outcomes, third grade STAR meets was slightly lower than the state target, so therefore we used that and we move forward. But the pre-K reading, kinder reading, they exceeded the target, so therefore we adjusted the baseline to those baseline measures so that we could continue to move forward. And then in third grade reading growth, of course, we now have MAP that we're using, NWA MAP, so we use that as the baseline. Of course, we used the national average to norm our way to set our goals. So hopefully this helps so that it gives you a little peace of mind that we are not watering down our goals. We're actually continuing to stretch ourselves and make sure that what we have in place is providing those continuous targets for our students, for our teachers, and for ourselves.
Can you, where is the document that shows the original adopted goal? I mean, what page am I looking at for original adopted goals versus current proposed goals?
Do we have the strikeout?
So it's in the workshop, there's a section that has the original set of goals and the proposed goals. And also, so it's in that workshop booklet. And then each of, on the section that has the left side, where it has the update, that update is the original goals on the left side. And that's each goal and each progress measure individually. So in this packet where you have the first section of this, you have it with context.
Is there something that shows it like next to each other, where it's the old and the new? It's just, for me, honestly, it's and I was also not at that workshop. I was traveling back, I think, from somewhere. It's hard to unpack this right now if first of all, we missed, and I watched the workshop. I remember being at the airport watching the workshop. I just need more time to look at it and have, I think, a better comparison of what we had adopted before, what's being proposed now. I certainly understand, adopting baseline data into this. I totally get that. But it's really just having a better picture of what was adopted before and is being proposed now, how that even aligns with superintendent evaluation. For example, I know superintendent evaluation, a lot of middle school data. Is there an alignment there? Are the numbers the same? This is a big thing for the board to adopt, and personally, I need more time to look over it, and maybe just because I have more questions, and anyway, that's what it is for me.
Trustee Hernandez?
I wanted to commend you all because you did a good job of summarizing it here and made it more clear to me as compared to the workshop where I went out and reached out to you and Ms. Saavedra to find out what this was. Not what it was, but rather how we came to those numbers, yes? And I'll openly admit our side conversation here between my colleague Alex Guayad and I, he wanted to know, and maybe this is a good time for you to speak up as well, but I feel comfortable with what we've already worked with in a workshop a while back, and we had time ourselves to work with staff to find out how we came up with these numbers. But he had also some legitimate information for me and was asking me, how did we come up with these numbers? And maybe you.
Yeah, I just want to echo again, thank you for all the work that you all are doing. I know we keep on saying thank you, but it really, truly is thank you. I know you guys work very, very hard doing all this. The baseline numbers, and I don't remember if we talked about this right on point during the workshop or not. Baseline numbers that's all coming from TEA. These are baseline numbers that we've generated based upon numbers from TEA. These are, if you can just shed more light on that.
Yes. Whenever we're doing our third grade, literacy or numeracy, that is the STAR. So that is 100% T, the STAR test that we took 2024 in the spring semester. And then whenever it has any of our littles, for example, our kinder or our pre-kindergarten, that is NWEA MAP, or we also use Circle Project Progress Measure. Those are ours that we do beginning, middle, and end of year, so we're showing growth. Texkia is another one of our progress measures that we're using. So those are the things that we do in-house. Our teachers actually do beginning, middle, and end of year, and we actually do the growth, so that's something that we obtain. And then anytime it's third grade, or if it's CCMR, college career military readiness, then that is something that the state does with end of course or with STAR test.
Okay, so then piggybacking off of that, it states, right, for the monitoring plan for 24 through 27, right? And I've been on the board now since, I think, June of 23, right? So a little over a year. So I wasn't here for the prior ones. If that's a 3-year increment, I know Ms. Saavedra had stated, right, that they can be addressed yearly. Were they addressed yearly in the past? Is this something that you all remember, like specifically bringing to the board and saying, hi, yes, either we've met those increments that we had before, or no, we didn't? I think I'm kind of echoing off of what Trustee Call had said too, right? And you had said the same thing, right? We're not watering down the numbers, you know, we're wanting to make sure that we're challenging ourselves, right, and pushing ourselves as a district. So were they actually reviewed every year from this prior? Was it 21 to 24?
And actually, it was yearly. In 2023, we actually came together and we actually did a board workshop at that point to adjust some of the goals. And then knowing that STAR 2.0 was in our horizon, so therefore that's why we had the board workshop, knowing that we wanted to relook at those numbers. Previously, and I'll turn it over to previously.
Well, the TA set the rules in place, and all boards across the state of Texas did their adoptions right around the same time as us, which was January of 2020. Well, you may remember 2020 had a lot going on. So as soon as we adopted, that year there was no STAR testing, the next year there was no STAR testing. So it did get off to kind of a rough patch of, you know, this was the good plan of 5 years monitoring literacy and math, and then there was a lot of sort of changes in the road. So that was the original plan, was adopted right in January of 2020.
Can I have you all walk through page 8 and page 9 of the report that you provided to the board? I think that might clarify and answer some questions for what we had adopted in the past and what was in place versus what we're proposing now from 2024 to 2027. It's my understanding that what was currently in place as of the workshop in 2023 is outlined on page 8. And so our original goal through 2025 was to be at third grade meets at 61%. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And we set the target at 55% in 2023.
That is correct.
When we reported to the board, we reported in 2023 we did not meet our target at 50%, right? We didn't meet 55, the red is 50%, that's where we were. And in 2024, we did not meet our target at 58%, we were at 44%. And what we've shared is that is the time frame when you have STAR 1.0, STAR 2.0, and all of the changes in the assessment. If you go to page 9, you can see our adjusted targets. So we start with our baseline data of 44%, which is our first indication of the new STAR test, and go to 2027, which is 50% in third grade. Am I reading that correctly?
That is correct.
Right. And so we adjusted from 55% going to 61% to baseline data at 44% to go to 50% due to the change in the assessment requirements and the change in the cut scores. That's as easy as I can kind of lay it out.
Trustee Call?
And you can also see in that same example where we have the proposal, in the pink line, the federal target for third grade reading at the meets is 46%. And the federal target for African American is 34%. So that particular target we are already above. But some of our student groups are above the federal targets and some are below. If it's green, the June 24 data is above federal target. If it's red, it's below federal target.
I just wanted to say, do you want to say something, Ms. Macias?
No. What I wanted to say is, if you notice, it's not just a 2% increase. Whenever we are below the federal target, that's where we're trying to increase between 2 and 6% to make sure that we're catching up that momentum and doing those stretch goals.
That's actually goes along with what I was going to say. What do you mean it's not just the 2% here? Oh, you're talking about the subgroups.
In other words, we're raising the amount that we expect to increase over time when we're significantly below the federal target.
Right. Well, actually, I was just going to make that point. Personally, I would like to see us do a 3% increase per year. If that's not the consensus view of the board, I understand, and I'll vote to approve it. But seems as how we're gonna revisit this next year. I really would like to see a 3% aggregate jump each year instead of a 2%. I know we're doing 5% on the math, and I think that's great. That's aggressive. I think 3% would stretch us more, but I'll leave it up to my colleagues here.
Can I make a motion to table this or to move this? I don't know what would be most appropriate, whether it's a workshop, because I kind of would like a special meeting just because we can take action on it, but if I can make a motion to move this,
If we can finish the discussion really quick. I know Ms. Saavedra has something to say.
Yeah, I'm more than happy. I mean, I serve at the pleasure of the board. I would just really impress upon the board that there's a lot of work and effort that goes into this from the administration. And we are more than happy to make ourselves available to provide one-on-one conversations to give the board an additional understanding of where we are and what we're trying to accomplish. And it's going to be important for us to invest in that time because I think that this is at least the third time that we revisit this subject. It impacts the ability for us to solidify our performance objectives for our CIPs and our district improvement plan. It impacts our ability for the board to finalize the superintendent's evaluation. So it impacts, and it's a snowball effect to a lot of the work that we do. And as we're working with campuses aggressively to meet the student outcomes, it's difficult when we haven't solidified what the board's expectation is of the administration and of the staff.
Thank you, Ms. Saavedra. And I want to also share, at the last workshop that we had, which was 28 days ago, when we left and there were still questions pending, I made the special request and challenged this board that if you had questions or you had concerns regarding the data, regarding the information, to sit down with the superintendent and staff, because it was pivotal that we got to the point where we could approve something, because so many things hold on this one piece. If the board, I mean, I'm one vote. If the will of the board is to postpone, then I really reiterate that request because we're here. This is the third time we're taking this item. This is gonna be the third time we're postponing this item. And while I understand that we may not have all the data and information, I mean, I would challenge the trustees, have we sat down with the superintendent and staff to have these conversations to talk about what a 1% increase would be, to talk about what changing metrics would be, because we're in week 8, I think, of the school year. And if we look at the timeline, we go into intercession in October for the first 2 weeks. We have a board meeting that Tuesday, the 15th, which means we're not gonna be able to have any kind of board meeting, special board meeting until later that week or the following week when staff is heading into DDR round 3. So staff is now going to be busy Monday through Friday with community meetings, really trying to engage. And so we're adding that extra complexity here. So that's why I put that request in. If the board's will and desires to postpone, then that's what it is, right? But we really have to step up. We all agreed as a board that we were going to focus on student outcomes. This is one of the things that we all agreed that was going to be a focus, putting those guardrails, self-assessment, all these components. And we're looking at postponing again. So if the board chooses to postpone, I'll entertain that motion. We can move forward, vote, and see where we go from there.
And part of my frustration, I'll be honest with you, you know, Ms. Hernandez and I were on an ad hoc committee for HB3. It was important for me at the time because we had not adopted any official board goals when we did the superintendent evaluation to have some board goals. And so we worked hard last year to sit down and adopt board goals through the HB3 process. The meeting happened to be scheduled on a day that I was out of town. I was a little frustrated because I wasn't able to attend, you know, and I was on that ad hoc committee. So that's part of it for me, is that I haven't been able to attend the workshop or really have that full understanding. I would say that it seems to me that a lot of us on the board have questions, clearly don't understand the interim versus long-term goals versus, if I felt like all of us understood what we're sort of adopting here as a board, because these are board goals, and this is, to your point, one of the most important things we can do is set benchmarks and expectations. I probably wouldn't ask for more time, but I think in light of where we're at, and because this is so critical, I think it's necessary. I'm happy to move forward to adopt baseline data today if that's what is important, but it's the goals that were set before. And again, goals that are set are supposed to be measured over time and valid for 3 to 5 years. Those are the board adopted goals. Interim goals can be evaluated by the district yearly, but even that, I think, needs to be explained when we're looking at student outcomes focused governance. And so, you know, I just disagree that without a longer conversation, readapting goals that are supposed to be 3-year goals, I just think, again, you know.
So if you want to make a motion, I will say this, and I'm asking this of each and individual trustee. We get a board packet every week with all the information of dates coming up, of timelines, special board meetings, workshops. We get that every week. It's in our packet. On Friday, it's released. If you see that there's a date on there that you can't make, please communicate with us early enough so that we can make these changes, because these information's going out 30 days in most cases in advance. It is in that board packet because that's what we as a board from day one have requested the superintendent to provide us, to communicate through that mechanism, and to take it off of Liz's shoulders of calling every single trustee, are you good, are you good? No, you're not good, let me start this process over again. And so, again, if there's that many questions from this board and we need to postpone, we're probably looking at a mid-October date, if that's correct, Ms. Saavedra, I think just based on timing. And, you know, we'll just have to put in that work in the interim to make sure that we do it, knowing that staff will be off for the intercession and the fall break. Because I do agree, this is the number one thing that we are here for, student outcomes. But we also have to take responsibility when we make a mistake as a board, and I think this is one of those opportunities where, or not even opportunities, this is one of those cases where we had the information in front of us, and we're in this situation today just because time has lapsed, and we're in a decision to call in for a vote.
The other option is that we're proposing that you adjust the goals, but the other option is to leave the goals as they were adopted in 2023 and disregard the fact that there was a change in the assessment and accountability system and just keep the same goals in place. Those are the two options that we can consider at this point. Because what I hear is that there's that there's questions from the board about the necessity for us to adjust the goals from the original simply because that there was a change in the test. And so if it's the board's desire for those goals that have been set for in 2023 to remain in place until 2025, then that's also another option for the board to consider. And we've shared with you very clearly that the jump from where we are to get today to get to 2025 is, a double-digit range for us to get there. But that's the other option for the board to consider, because I hear consternation from the board that there's not a strong enough rationale for us to reconsider recalibrating the outcome goals from the original goals that were set by the board in 2023.
Trustee Cole.
I actually think a lot of good points have been made here by President Irabali and Ms. Saavedra. and I hear the consternation here. So I actually think that we should adopt the goals as presented here, with the caveat that they may be, modified in the future, such as a year from now, and we can have workshops to work through some of these issues here. But I don't want to slow down the progress that we're making right now, and I'm worried that if we postpone it, then things are going to get mucked up, and before we know it, another few months will have gone by. So I'm going to make a motion.
I think I already made a motion, though. So
Is that an official motion?
I did make a motion.
Dr. Lovett?
Technically, she did say she wanted to make a motion, and then you asked for the discussion
It's
to
fine.
continue.
Dr. Lovett, then we'll go to Trustee Hanani for a motion.
All right. So in this discussion, I think we've really churned up a good amount, and I know Trustee Call has returned to the original point, but you did just raise a 3% prospect, which then through this discussion, I'm thinking there are more questions than answers left on the table here. That to me is somewhat concerning, that the mean of the board has not been arrived at. We haven't found where we all agree. And because it is such an important aspect of what we do, in fact, I would say it's the most important aspect of what a board does, I do think that there is further consideration necessary. And it's not on any individual trustee, but as a group, I'm hearing different numbers being floated around. I'm hearing some don't understand the full context of what we're doing here today. And so I think that it is worthwhile to have a little bit of a further discussion, because are the consequences actually that dire? If we do delay just slightly, to have that fuller discussion because of the questions that have arisen here on the dais. Not because of the workshop, not because of individual consultations, but because of this conversation so far. So this all came up in this conversation, and to me, it's a little concerning. So just raising that point.
So I am going to make a motion. Before I make a motion, I just want to say I don't think that tabling this is going to stop the progress that the district is going to make. As a matter of fact, the district has never met its HB3 goals in the past. So, the bar is there. I think a lot of this is more about governance than anything else. I know that we're going to be taking up an item that kind of speaks to the governance piece of it, how we monitor our time as a board, how we evaluate our time as a board. But this is part of it, I think, taking this seriously. So I disagree that not approving this today would, or tabling this would stop anything. We've never actually met the bar we set for ourselves in terms of goals, and I've looked, and I've looked quite far back. I'm going to make a motion to adopt the baseline data and to table the discussion for the rest of the board goals for a special board meeting in the near future.
So can I just clarify? So when you say baseline data, you just mean the starting point for 2024, and then the discussion for the progress to 2027 would be the ongoing conversation with the board to land on something amenable?
And maybe I should be clear about that. It's baseline data for what we didn't already have, right? Baseline data where I know that we have some new interim testing and those things.
MAP?
Right.
So
On
not
our
the
interim
STAR,
assess-
not the third grade STAR?
On baseline data on our interim assessments.
So the MAP, NWEA
Yes.
MAP information?
Yes.
But not the STAR information?
Right, because I
Okay.
think that is part of the larger goals that we'll discuss at the future.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I'm going to second that motion.
I have a motion by trustee Hanani, a second by trustee Koyar. All in favor?
Aye.
Those in opposition? No?
No.
That motion fails 4-3. Do I have another motion?
I move that the board approve the updated House Bill 3 Student Outcome Goals, Progress Measures, Monitoring Plan in the Early Childhood Literacy, Early Childhood Mathematics, and College Career and Military Readiness as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Hernandez, a second by trustee Call. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those in opposition?
No.
That item passes 4-3. This takes us to item, thank you, Ms. Macias and Ms. Ferret. This takes us to item B, discuss and take appropriate action on the 2024-2025 District Improvement Plan and Campus Improvement Plan performance objectives. Ms. Saavedra?
Yes, each year we go through our district improvement plan and our campus improvement plans and bring to the board for your consideration our yearly performance objectives. And so at this time, Ms. Macias and her team will share where we are with our performance objectives as we look towards this school year and the goals that we want to reach.
Thank you. President Ibali, Ms. Saavedra, members of the board, today going to provide you an overview with our campus improvement plans, district improvement plans. So we're going to share with you planning alignment, process and timeline, performance objectives, and our next steps.
So this is a slide we've shared before. One of our big pieces in the last 2 years is we've really looked at our framework for our campus and district improvement plan and aligned it to our strategic blueprint, starting with our mission, vision, and core beliefs. And then from our strategic blueprint, we have every key target represented in the district improvement plan, and then the department plans, which correlate to what each department owns, and the campus improvement plans, and you'll see that. This is brought to you because of BQ, Legal and Local, which does require that the board annually approve the district and campus performance objectives, as well as ensure that they mutually support each other, and Education Code Chapter 4. So just a quick overview and reminder of our process. We start the process for planning the year in January of the year before with training and our comprehensive needs assessment. We then go into the budget season and align our budget based on the needs assessment. At the districts, create district plans, and then we move that into our measurable performance objectives and strategies. The groups, stakeholders that are key in this process really is our DIAC. They worked with us in February and May on the needs assessment, and then in August for reviewing the performance objectives, giving feedback, and actually again in September, right before this meeting. Campus improvement plans have a similar timeline, similar activities, and their main group of stakeholders is their campus improvement team, which is a variety of stakeholders to include parents, community, business, teachers, and so forth. Just as a quick overview reminder on our needs assessment, there's 8 main components that TEA says look at your needs in these areas. And we have, over the last 2 years, really aligned them to our strategic blueprint and categorized them together to help us keep our plans in alignment. Everything that is a key target Now I'm going to be the one to ruin it. A key target in our strategic blueprint is a data piece that we measure and use as our needs assessment to help drive our decisions. So we call it the 2-pager with all the data points that we need to look at the data, and we look at it in 3 ways. Our strengths, just our summary overall, our strengths, and our needs. Everything that's identified as a need will be one of the strategies in the plan. Our plan has 5 goals, and you'll recognize them. They're the same goals of the strategic blueprint. And just one more visual. There's a little bit of a language adjustments in our strategic blueprint. We call them 5 levers. For our improvement plan, they're 5 goals. In our strategic blueprint, we have essential actions and key targets. And it's a 3-year metric. And then in our district improvement plan, that is the piece that is our performance objectives for the 1 year. So every key target, again, is a performance objective, and those are the things that are being brought for you today.
Good evening. So our performance objectives are based off of our goals and our 5 levers, but these are 1-year measurable timelines for us. So this is lever 1, whole child. If you can see, these are all the district goals, the district objectives. On the right side where you see the yeses, those means that they're also included in the campus plans. So anything you see a yes on is also included for all of our campuses. Lever 2, this here is academic excellence. Again, on the right side, you see a yes if it's included into a campus improvement plan. You also see some that see elementary, middle school. Those are specific, such as the grade 3 math and things like that, that are specific only to elementary school or middle school or high school. So it is indicated on the plan which level of school need to have those in their plan. This is lever 3, destination district. Again, the yeses on the side are included in the campus plan. There are only 3 on this one. Lever 4 is culture of accountability. There again, only 3 included in every single campus improvement plan. And our last lever, lever 5, equity by design, has 3 yeses again. Only 1 is included in every plan. 1 is for middle school, 1 is for high school. All of our district improvement plans and our campus improvement plans are on our district website and available for the public. And once they are approved by the board, every campus website will also have it on their own website. And I'll open up for any questions.
Trustee Hernandez.
I reviewed the packet, and I was impressed with the district improvement plan as well as primarily the campus improvement plans, because within that, you could see that each campus did work on wanting to improve their performance measures. And so I'm happy with what you all did for this. Thank you.
There's no other comments. I'll entertain a motion. I'll move to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
A motion by Trustee Urbali, a second by Dr. Loveridge. All in favor? Aye. Any in opposition? The item passes unanimously 7-0. This takes us to item C, discuss and take appropriate action on scheduling a board workshop to consider development of a board self-evaluation tool, revisions to board operating procedures handbook, and Team of 8 training. Trustee Call, you want to open?
Yeah. There's been a lot of, over the course of the last year, there's been a lot of work done on Team of 8 training and developing the board operating procedures. I feel like that's a really, really necessary thing. And instead of doing this in silos, which we've been trying to do, and we've had some good success with it, I feel like we need to get together to finish this work that some of us has worked so hard on, and I feel like we could dovetail that with some great Team of 8 training. I know we had a lot of success in the last year or two with some of that Team of 8 training, particularly with Dr. Hinojosa. And since we have new board members and since we need to finish this process, I feel like that would be time well spent with that.
So for the board's knowledge, the superintendent and I have entered several conversations with several entities talking about a Team of 8 training. Daniel Call and I were just in a training at Holsworth where it was a board academy. And Dr. Loveridge and I were at SGS, System of Great Schools, in June for a very similar one. And so what we saw, what I saw and the superintendent saw being at both of the conferences is that there were pieces and components from both of the trainings that would be highly valuable for this board as we go through these remaining things. One of the major takeaways from Holsworth is they told us that the handbook is something that we take away, and these are the rules that we as a board agree to and abide by. Right? There's nothing legally, there's nothing that no action that can be taken. It is a social contract between all of us of what we're going to do. And so when we were talking about the process of how which we were going through it, combining it and just putting on there, they highly recommended against that because it creates a situation where what if 5 of the 7, 6 of, 5 of the 7, 6 of the 7, 2 of the 7 agree to this, and then that board operating procedure means nothing. It's just a document that kind of goes away. So in conversation with the superintendent and in conversation with Trustee Call, we are pursuing Team of 8 training. Part of that is we make good work when we work together as a team of 8. We came out with the vision, the mission, the superintendent's evaluation, our social contract. I mean, there's a lot of good work that comes out when we get together. We haven't had training because we haven't had a team of 8, a complete team of 8 for, feels like a long time. I can't remember the last time we had, but it's, the reason why we put the item in this manner is because we wanted to update you and let you know that we're gonna use the board of training as an opportunity to discuss and work through these items that we all wanna talk about, including our guardrails, including the board focusing on student outcomes, what that looks like, looking at the best practices. And we should have an update here, I believe this week, if I'm not mistaken, from at least one of the entities about what that looks like. And so it was posted as potential action in case we had information today. So this is my commitment to the board. Between now and October, you will have a Team of 8 training scheduled. I ask that this is really important, I think, especially as we go into the conversation of DDR, as we go into the conversation of looking at the end of the year, into the new year, what those financial constraints are going to be, the legislative session, all these different components. I ask that this board prioritize it and get with us as soon as you can when we get dates, because we'll need to move pretty quickly here. I don't know, Trustee Hernandez, I know you had something to add, and then
I just wanted to request if you're going to schedule this, if you could schedule it the second half of October, after October 15th, because I'll be out of town for 2 trips for us, actually 3. So the first part of October, I won't be able to attend.
The timeline that I think we're requesting is just before November, as we look towards that end of October, early November timeframe. As we look at what the district has going on, they'll be able to get out of DDR round 3, as we look at some of the other things that are rounding up here. So I think that's the sweet spot of time that we're entertaining. We are looking at a potential going out of town opportunity versus staying here, provide us that opportunity to kind of have that retreat kind of atmosphere. Let's work together, actually build that camaraderie. And if that doesn't work out, then we'll find and adjust as needed.
I would also share that there's been expressed by Ms. Hanani as well, working through a self-evaluation for the board. And so I think that some of the Team of 8 training could help us, work to that end as well. Like I said, we're scheduled for a follow-up conversation with the Holsworth team this week, Thursday morning. So we'll be able to provide you an update. Possibly in the meantime, when I send out the board update on Friday, I may ask you all to share with me dates that are absolutely, dates that are currently open for you, so that we have kind of a semblance from each of you what your open opportunities are for us to do some of this work. As I said, if we work with Holsworth, we may have an option to have some of the training at the Holsworth campus, or we can decide to do it, in-house. But in any event, if you all would share with us availabilities, that would be, towards the end of October and within the first 2 weeks of November, that would be, give us some good ideas, as I'm going to be having a conversation on Thursday to try to get availability from the entities that we're trying to secure.
Trustee Nani?
Is there a cost associated with the Holsworth training?
Any training that we do is going to have a cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
My only ask would be that the board as a whole discuss and act upon who the selections are for the board training, with the associated costs. I think that's important because we're going to be doing team of 8 training as we're going into an election cycle where there's going to be 4 board seats up for election. So I would hate for us to spend a lot of money and then immediately have to, recalibrate with an entirely new board. So I think it's just would be prudent for the board to make the selection and evaluate the costs and have that discussion, publicly before something just gets brought to us that's, a recommendation and an associated cost. I think we should have that discussion together. That would be my ask.
And I would just caution that because then it also then pushes our timeline back to October 15th. And if we're looking at a training, that gives, if we do a training at the end of October, a 1-week notice to the trustees about what that looks like, should it get approved or not. I'll tell you, I think my track record speaks for itself on my fiscal responsibility and my duty to the taxpayer. I don't think this is an exuberant cost. I think that we all saw the value of when we had our Team of 8 trainings with Hinojosa or when we saw our trainings at Harvard and the value. I know that it's also something that we budgeted for. So I would ask for that flexibility because we need it and the timing is getting closer and closer. So if we wait till, let's say we take it in October 15th, we have the training in November, we're getting closer to the holidays, it's gonna be harder for us to break away for our families, so then we postpone until January, and we're in the same situation where we haven't had a Team of 8 training in several months.
Yeah, and I just disagree. I think I think it's important for the board to make that decision together, and it's not just be coming from, one person on the board. I think it's important that we all sort of look at who we would like to have this training and make that decision as a team. Otherwise, we sort of lose the spirit of Team of 8 training. I think we're all trying to be fiscally responsible and fiscally prudent. I think that's important to all of us, and I just, again, I would, that's just my feelings.
I would share that from my perspective, it's been a challenge to land on an entity that the board can agree on for training. We've tried working through TASB, we've tried working through Region 19, we've tried working independently with Council of Great City Schools. And so, again, I know that Dr. Loveridge has been exposed to System of Great Schools, and we're working in concert with that entity and receive a lot of technical support from them. We have a 4-year partnership with them. We have a 4-year partnership with Holsworth. And so again, there's limited entities out there for us to seek training. And so I certainly understand the collective input from the board. I just, from a superintendent's perspective, there is a significant need for us to come together as a team of 8, and we've got to land on a training option or opportunity soon.
And so knowing that we have these partnerships, I'd like to make a motion that we, based on the availability of either SGS or Holsworth, because those are the 2 cohorts that we are part of. If it's because I'm a part of the Board of Trustees and that's a concern, then we leave it up to the superintendent who oversees the overall finances and system and the availability, and then she can make that discretionary call so that we can move forward. Again, these are the 2 entities that are heavily investing in our district and making the bet on us to be successful, and they need us to succeed because it's good for their projects and systems as well. I got to tell you, this is the first time on this board in a Team of 8 training that we're asking the full board to make a decision. I mean, it really is. Every time it's been 1 or 2 trustees that really have pushed that conversation one way or the other. And so if the consternation is one trustee is a part of that conversation, I happily bow out and provide it to the superintendent, knowing what our needs are as a district, knowing the makeup of our board, to move forward and secure someone in a quick time frame so that we can get some training that's much needed, in my opinion, on this board.
So no action?
Well, I mean, I'd make a motion to that regard, to be honest. Can I just say that, Cezzy? Is that my motion, to give the superintendent discretion to procure Team of 8 training for the Board
I
of
think that's
Trustees.
implied in the motion here, isn't it?
I don't even know what the motion is.
I move that the board
7C.
workshop be scheduled in the month of October to consider the development of board self-evaluation tool.
At the direction of the superintendent. Is that fine with everyone? All right, so I'll make the motion. I move that the board workshop be scheduled in the month of October or early November to consider development of a board self-evaluation tool, continue discussions to finalize revisions of the board operating procedures handbook, and discuss upon upcoming Team of 8 training at the direction of the superintendent. Do I have a second?
So let me just be clear about that. So you're adding in that you're going to procure that at this point, or you're just going to,
At the direction of the superintendent, no procurement, because I don't know what the rules are.
say what?
No procurement, just at the direction of the superintendent, discretion of the superintendent.
I'm not following your motion.
I want the superintendent to be able to make the decision on how we proceed with the board of Team of 8 training.
Perfect.
Can I ask?
I understand that.
Okay.
So you're just asking the superintendent to go ahead and do it within her authority that she has?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
I second the motion.
I had a
Is there
second
a
from
discussion?
trustee
Can there be
Hernandez.
discussion after the motion?
They should
Yeah.
have discussion.
I guess my question, and I'm trying to think how much I want to say. You know, I've been asking for a board self-evaluation tool for years, probably 3 years. My question is, why is this suddenly such a rush? And why are we scheduling Team of 8 training and the board self-evaluation tool like in the middle of a school closure process and 6 months before an election of 4 board members? That does concern me that we're suddenly rushing to get this out right now and can't even agree to have a conversation about the selection. I'd like that question answered before I vote on this. It seems like a really, I mean, you know, again, to go years of asking and then suddenly like, we have to put it on the agenda next month, and next month is when we're probably making the most divisive decision of our tenure. I'm not sure that it sits well with me.
So I want to point out, this is not rushed. I can talk to Trustee Hernandez, has been asking for Team of 8 training for the last 2 years religiously. This board, to Superintendent Saavedra's point, has never agreed on a trainer. We tried to go through Lone Star Governance, that got shut down by some trustees. We tried to go through TASB, that got shut down by some trustees. We tried to go to the system of the council of great schools, great city schools. That was, not agreed upon, that there continues to be that. So at some point, the one thing I do recognize is this board needs training. We can be better, and we're all agreeing that that's something that we want to do for student outcomes and for student success and do what we can do. And so I don't see it as something that's rushed. I also don't see it as a waste of taxpayer money or things like that. If this is going to be something that gets this board to be able to focus on the things that need to be focused on instead of prioritizing things that are not necessary or that should not be taking our attention away. I think that we need to be recentered as a group, understand what our focus is, and really build out these processes. I kind of go back to that thing. I've been the board president for almost 2 years now. I've never once gotten a request for you to put the self-evaluation on the board agenda. I've never gotten one of those requests from any trustee. And I know that Al Velarde, when I talked to him, the same exact thing, never once received one of these requests. So,
That's not true. These were requests that were made in Team of 8 training.
Thank you. So when we sit here, we have the capacity as board members at any time to request, and if we have a second, in policy, it states the board president has to put it on the immediate next board item or board meeting or the following one. That's what policy states. So we've driven a lot of this conversation and we've allowed a lot of this opportunity for it to grow. And so what I'm saying is, this is something that I think it's a great opportunity for us. I think it's much needed. I think, to your point, we're going into a really tough decision. I think it's important for this board to remember what our role is and what our answer is to the community, and what we should be focusing on and the conversations that we should be having with our community. And that's, one thing that we learned at Holsworth is that sometimes you can challenge the district. You can work, and say, district, hey, I'm challenging you on this to get the answers that you want and find an agreement, in the middle as a compromise. And so, I would challenge the assertion that this is being rushed. And again, Trustee Hernandez has requested this. God, I want to say 2 years she's been asking for a Team of 8 training, but we've never had a Team of 8 for longer than 6 months or so. I think it's been pretty rough.
And
Trustee
all due
Hernandez?
respect, I do remember a 8 training that was scheduled when you first came on, Ms. Saavedra, August 1st. I made arrangements to be here on August 1st, and that one was postponed because of one trustee couldn't attend. And then we postponed it, and postponed it, and I'm frustrated as well, because that's one of the reasons why maybe I need to move on. Maybe I want to stay. Maybe if we can get something where we can work cohesively, because it's obvious that we need help. And our team of 8 training will help us, because I'm open to whatever it is for us to get better. And if we need to do a self-evaluation, that'd be great. If we can do student performance during this training, we can do that too. But we have to be open to do it and be willing to work together.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I just wanted to say, kind of building off of what Trustee Hernandez said and answering one of the points that Trustee Hinani said. Yeah, we're going into a really rocky situation with DDR round 3, and I think that the more we can be on the same page and kind of have the wind in our backs going into all of that, the better everything is going to go for all of us.
Okay, Dr. Loveridge?
I want to say something positive about system of grade schools, and I think it's something that was very informative for me coming onto the board in April. I really enjoyed that training. I enjoyed the feeling of camaraderie for multiple school board members across the state of Texas to understand what other people do. So I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate the prospect of having a further conversation together as a team so that we're able to really align, because I really do think we as a board need to be seeking the mean, because every one of us has something that we're really bringing to the table here that's different, that we are uniquely capable of doing. And I think we should all, through this process of destination district redesign, be as aware of each other's strengths as possible, be as committed as possible to prioritizing the students in our district, and to getting through this process in a way that is beneficial to our communities. So I am in favor of this. I think it's a good thing. I would, however, underscore that it does come between October 15th and our vote, and I want us as a board to be as committed as possible to still receiving that community input on these decisions that we're going to be making. I want us to make sure that having a workshop like this, having a training like this doesn't distract us from where we need to be right now. And so I would slightly lean in favor of having it here in our hometown where we all need to be right now as we're approaching that. Because trips are a little disruptive, as we all know, and we all have, well, most of us have childcare needs. I'm not blessed yet, but soon. So I would appreciate it if we could keep it in El Paso as much as possible and have those conversations here. So just offering that idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Loveridge. So with that, all in favor on the motion, which was made by myself, seconded by Trustee Hernandez? Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? That item passes unanimously 7-0. This will take us to item 8, consent. I have a speaker. Do we have the name of the speaker?
Oh, yes, sir. And don't forget to pull.
It's on Yes, ma'am. Approval of memorandum of understanding between El Paso Independent School District and Amigo Air Show, Inc. for the use of transportation services.
Shane Griffin.
Hello, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. Shane Griffith. I'm a volunteer with the Amigo Air Show, and it's just a lot of labor and love for many folks to bring the air show back to El Paso as a signature event for our community after a 12-year hiatus. And as we're all starting from scratch and realizing, documents from the past are no longer available, on behalf of the entire Amigo Air Show team, we'd like to express our support and appreciation to EPISD, specifically the Transportation Department under SB Pearson and Kathy Cisneros, and everybody involved to put together this contract as part of tonight's consent agenda. Because honestly, without the use of the school buses and as well as the buses that are ADA equipped for members of our disabled community, this air show would not happen. So it's a great opportunity for our community to re-engage with Fort Bliss and the personnel. This project has gone all the way up to the Pentagon, and we're taking the security and safety of everybody who attends this show with utmost care. I just wanted to thank, again, on behalf of everybody from Teresa Rockwell to Alan Russell, our chairman, all of our sponsors, which includes the Mountain Star Sports Group, Peter Piper Pizza, which, by the way, thanks to their sponsorship, every child 12 years and below are able to attend for free. Active duty military are free, and there's discounts for the dependents of our active military as well. And so I also think it's a great opportunity for EPISD because we're expecting about 100,000 people during the course of this two-day event, all of whom will be getting on an EPISD bus. And so there could be some great outreach opportunities there, for a captive audience. And beyond that, on Friday, when our air performers, which are headlined by the Canadian Snowbirds from Canada coming on down here, they actually, I have 1 more minute left, they actually canceled another event because they were so excited to hear that the Amigo Air Show is returning that that this event on October 12th and 13th will conclude their 2024 schedule. So our hats are off to them as well. But on Friday, they'll be doing a demonstration. They have to practice. And so we're going to be busing in students, not only from EPISD, but from other school districts as well, so they can see that demonstration performance for free. So it'll be a special event. Tickets are available. There's special chalets and a great opportunity, lots of static displays, and it's just going to be a signature event for a community. So we invite all of you on October 12th and 13th. Come on out for the Mountain Star Sports Group Amigo Air Show. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And another note is item 8011. The item is pulled at the request of the administration for a later date. To be quite honest with the trustees, this item's going to be probably coming to us pretty quick in a special board meeting as we look at intercession happening. So I'll probably, to be quite honest, probably next week we'll be getting together because the backup's going to be provided us pretty quickly here. Does any trustees want to pull any items out?
Yes. Let me see. 09.
09. Okay. And then I'm going to be pulling P1.
P1, yeah.
Any other items? Do I have a motion to, on the consent agenda item, sans 09 and P1? And before I do, I forgot to tell you, if you guys go look in our board minutes, in an effort to kind of recenter the board around student outcomes, if you look at the bottom page of our regularly scheduled meetings, it'll tell you the duration of how long the meeting went, and it will also point out to you how much time we spent on student outcomes and talking about student achievement. So as we reevaluate kind of where we want to focus our energies on and our attention, I've worked with the staff to kind of work that out. So thank you, team, very much. I appreciate it. So that will be a part of the thing that we approve every time that the board minutes are approved. So do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That's a motion by trustee Call, a second by Dr. Loveridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? That item passes unanimously 7-0. This takes us to item 09. Trustee Cuellar?
Yes. All right, thank you, President Arabali. Hi, Chief, how you doing? How are you? Good, good, good. The reason that I pulled this was, I think just to highlight the fact that we saw that there were maybe some issues with our radios, right? Was this money used as part of the grant that was given to us, the security grant?
Yes, sir. Mr. Idubali, trustees, Mr. Cuellar, and Ms. Ayvedra. In response to your question, yes, these are the SAFE grant funds. Actually, it's the Safe and Secure Schools Fund, that we'll be using on this, and we're very proud to bring this forward because, as you know, we've had some issues with our radio system, and this will help us install upgrade kits in our existing radios, and we'll have our system ready for the new radios that we'll be getting as part of that grant.
Okay, and with those radios, is that something that will ensure, I guess, at this point, that all EPISD PD personnel that need a radio will have the radio that's in good working order?
Yes, sir, this is all part of that. And to ensure the communications from within the capabilities of that radio, to have redundancies built in, which included our ability to use the existing Wi-Fi in our buildings, the LTE signals from cell towers, as well as land mobile radio, in essence, speaking through the antennas on the mountain.
Great, thank you so much, Chief, appreciate it.
Thank you all very much for your support.
Do you have a motion on the item? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second? So, was that Trustee Hernandez? Did you say so moved? Okay, Trustee Hernandez is my motion. My second is Dr. Loveridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? That item passes 6-0 with Trustee Hanani not present. This will take us to item P1, approval of final acceptance of work and final payment of Coronado High School Stadium bleacher renovation. I'm just recusing myself from this item. I don't know if there's any discussion. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll do it, but let me find it. Hold on. I move to approve.
Do I have a second? I have a motion by Trustee Call, a second by Dr. Loveridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? That item passes 5-0 with Trustee Hanani not present and Trustee Irabali abstaining. This takes us to item 9A, overview of future board meeting agenda items.
Yes, this will be very brief. Thank you, President Irabali and trustees. As you know, our upcoming October board meeting is going to be, we're going to be having a significant discussion both about our district rating under the school financial integrity system, the first system. So we'll have a presentation from our chief financial officer. In addition, the staff will be presenting the board with a preliminary recommendation associated with destination district redesign. Going forward in November, we'll have an additional conversation about a financial auditor's report, and we will be bringing you a final recommendation for you to consider in a special board meeting in November associated with destination district redesign for the board's consideration as well.
Thank you, Ms. Saavedra. This will take us to item 10, adjournment. We are going to close this meeting out at 7:38. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your hard work.